let's all stand. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh and give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Go ahead.
Admission of lawyers. Misha Marie Allison.
May it please the court, I move that Misha Marie Allison be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Misha Marie Allison be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alana Jane Brearley.
May it please the court, I move that Alana Jane Brearley be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alana Jane Brearley be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rhys James Burton.
May it please the court, I move that my brother, Rhys James Burton, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rhys James Burton be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jessica Isara Campbell.
May it please the court, I move that Jessica Isara Campbell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jessica Isara Campbell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lily Dorothy Cusack Cox.
May it please the court, I move that Lily Dorothy Cusack Cox be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Lily Dorothy Cusack Cox be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Marielle Gonzalez.
May it please the court, I move that Marielle Gonzalez be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Marielle Gonzalez be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sarah Elise Hilton.
May it please the court, I move that Sarah Elise Hilton be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sarah Elise Hilton be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ebony Noel Humphrey.
May it please the court, I move that Ebony Noel Humphrey be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ebony Noel Humphrey be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rhiannoth Klinos Kent.
May it please the court, I move that Rhiannoth Klenos Kent be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rhiannon Linus Kent be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Christina Kaznezovich.
May it please the court, I move that Christina Knezovich be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Christina Knesevich be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Melanie Eugenia Hong Yi Lo.
May it please the court, I move that Melanie Eugenia Hong Lo be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Melanie Eugenia Hong Yilo be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Thomas Benjamin Militich.
May it please the court, I move that Thomas Benjamin Militich be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Thomas Benjamin Militich be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Bobby Joshua Nader.
May it please the court, I move that my nephew, Bobby Joshua Nader, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Bobby Joshua Nader be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Annalise Men Zuan Nguyen.
May it please the court, I move that Annalise Menzor Nguyen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Annalise Mienzon Nguyen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Yvonne Nguyen.
May it please the court, I move that Yvonne Newen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Yvonne Nguyen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Christine Pang.
May it please the court, I move that Christine Pang be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Christine Pang be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Maxine Florence Richard.
May it please the court, I move that Maxine Florence Richard be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Maxine Florence Richard be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Stephanie Elizabeth Olivia Rao.
May it please the court, I move that Stephanie Elizabeth Olivia Rowell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Stephanie Elizabeth Olivia Rao be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Chloe Mary Saker.
May it please the court, I move that Chloe Marie Saker be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Chloe Mary Saker be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Briellen May Sands.
May it please the court, I move that Brianna May Sands be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Briellen May Sands be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sarah Catherine Schooley.
May it please the court, I move that Sarah Catherine Schooley be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Sarah Catherine Schooley be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nicholas James Venn.
May it please the court, I move that Nicholas James Venn be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Nicholas James Venn be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Adrian Anthony Vipond.
May it please the court, I move that Adrian Anthony Vipond be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Adrian Anthony Vipond be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Samuel Peter Westley.
May it please the court, I move that Samuel Peter Wesley be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Samuel Peter Wesley be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Gabrielle Marie Shooter Wilson.
May it please the court, I move that Gabrielle Marie Shooter Wilson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Gabrielle Marie Shooter Wilson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Harriet Ruby Wilson.
May it please the court, I move that Harriet Ruby Wilson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Harriet Ruby Wilson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Molly Kate Windsor.
May it please the court, I move that my niece, Molly Kate Windsor, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Molly Kate Windsor be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexandra Michelle Wright.
May it please the court, I move that Alexandra Michelle Wright be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Alexandra Michelle Wright be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jonathan Wu.
That Jonathan Wu be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rebecca Zhao.
May it please the court, I move that Rebecca Shao be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rebecca Shao be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Kaylee Shujian Yap.
May it please the court, I move that Kaylee Shujian Yap be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Kaylee Shujian Yap be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of swearing an oath or making a declaration that all those being admitted today stand up but remain in your current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Misha Marie Allison. Alana Jane Brearley. Reese James Burton. Jessica Isara Campbell. Lily Dorothy Cusack Cox. Marielle Gonzalez. Sarah Elise Hilton. Ebony Noel Humphrey. Rhiannon Klinas Kent. Christina Kaznezovich. Melanie Eugenia Hongyi Low. Thomas Benjamin Miletich. Bobby Joshua Nader. Annalise Menshan Nguyen. Yvonne Nguyen. Christine Pang. Maxine Florence Richard. Stephanie Elizabeth Olivia Rao. Chloe Marie Saker. Briellen May Sands. Sarah Catherine Schooley. Nicholas James Venn. Adrian Anthony Vipond. Samuel Peter Westley. Gabrielle Marie Shooter Wilson. Harriet Ruby Wilson. Molly Kate Windsor. Alexandra Michelle Wright. Jonathan Wu. Rebecca Shao. Kaylee Shujian Yap. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Please say, "So help me God," or "I do."
Please be seated. Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today, to my right is Justice Campbell and to my left Justice Wright. Each of their honours are members of the Common Law Division of the Court. Together we constitute the court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has had in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You've all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fuelled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbook and more cases than you can ever hope to remember. Rest assured, for those with a bibliophobia, that is a fear of running out of reading material, in the legal profession that never happens. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have understood why the Constitution consists of a lot more than just the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The customs of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the names of lawyers were entered into honour rolls in the state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or for your family and friends more likely, that's how long it feels that you've been studying. On that note, I am pleased to welcome those with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has doubtless been invaluable. No doubt they have also, from time to time, been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre or in an entirely different field, you should be known for your integrity, your honesty and your commitment to justice. It is in acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion some years ago, younger members of the audience asking if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that over the past 2 years, we've had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technologies to ensure access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those sitting with me on the bench can undoubtedly attest to. There have been difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And sometimes the lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural and remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you're at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all solicitors with a practice certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court and, for example, amongst barristers in speaking roles before the High Court. On the other hand, it is heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession from people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we'll only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who've been around for as long as me. And you only need to look around this courtroom and then at the paintings on the wall to see that this is so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws, or systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction that it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are, of course, only a handful of lawyer jokes, the rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools that you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court, the administration of justice, and other ethical duties that you must uphold. Now that you're lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. But of course, there's a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must try to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reasons, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur." That is foundational to the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the sole object of making sure that no one can understand it. Your job is not only to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? The answer to those questions is self-evidently no. The best advocates make their points simply and succinctly. Now, I'm afraid that some of the most experienced lawyers and judges from time to time could use that reminder, but don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I would not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes. Some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, far too many that I care to remember, although my colleagues from time to time seem keen to remind me of them. And even as Chief Justice, my judgments have been overturned on occasions by the High Court. When that happens, I'm obliged to remind myself through gritted teeth that it's not just a legal fiction that the High Court is infallible, but occasionally even dissenting judgments become the law, and the law is sometimes better for that. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. This may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or take a step back when you need to. And remember that the law is a collegiate profession, and in times of difficulty, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I found that out throughout my career. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case, and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers of my chambers to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the sly tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. Now, I hasten to add, I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
Silence